excited for this. You got some good content here. Six
I've got
pages.
I've got 6 pages of shit on the hollow earth.
That's beautiful.
Um,
I'm excited for this.
yeah,
This will be fun because I just get to sit back and listen to you talk about
rant.
it.
So, how familiar are you with the hollow earth or any of the hollow earth theories?
I'm pretty familiar. I I love the
Well,
Hollow Earth. Like I love hearing about it.
well then, fuck, maybe I shouldn't do the hollow earth
All right, let's research a new topic real quick and then we'll move
right
forward.
now. Yeah. No, okay, so this was kind of suggested by one of the YouTube comments we got on one of our last videos. They specifically were talking about Agartha, and we get into that, but I just wanted to cover like the whole shebang. Before we get into like all the conspiratorial shit, I wanted to talk about how would this even be physically possible? Like if it was real, how would it function, kind of?
It's not physically possible.
Would it just hear me out?
Listen, bro, I know the answer.
I can see it all, okay? I can prove it to you. Um, no, I can't, but like, okay, so we all know gravity.
We all know
We all
anatomy
know
of
and love
gravity.
gravity. You know, when massive dense objects they clump together and they make non-hollow spherical objects. That's what happens with gravity.
Right.
Also, just thought of this now. If if the Earth was hollow, like I don't know, like okay, you can see that happen with water in space, and it's just a solid thing of water.
Wait,
So
see what?
like something with mass float and form into a sphere.
Yeah. It always just kind of goes into a sphere. Yeah.
A
Okay.
sphere. However, there is theoretically a reverse gravity, like an anti-gravity. And the theory suggests that dark energy has an anti-gravity effect, like a repulsive effect instead of attraction like gravity,
Right.
and that the universe is made up of 70% of dark energy. My thought process, and this whole topic has like a lot of theory crafting and like a lot of like kind of stretches, but my thought process was, what if while the earth was forming and all that shit, right? Gravity's bringing it all together, but there's enough condensed dark energy somehow in the earth.
In the core of the planet. Like that's what the core is, man.
Maybe. I
It's
mean,
keeping us up.
well, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, there's enough gravity to hold everything in, but enough dark energy to suspend the crust where we live to give space for atmosphere for the other levels of the planet.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Okay. I
Now,
can fuck with that.
you can you see like the thought process?
Yeah,
And
I mean it's kind of like putting two opposite sides of a magnet together or two the same sides,
100%.
sorry, and it pushes away. So if the core of the earth is negative and is pushing away the gravity,
But the gravity, or
bada bing bada
because
boom.
100%,
And we're just living on space dust, man. That's
we're just
shaped into a
vibing.
fucking sphere like it would be a water drop.
And then
Interesting. Okay.
and then I also had this thought that um some people believe that that's where aliens come from, is from the hollow earth, right?
Yeah, that's where the reptilians come from.
It's where like UFOs go, like they dive into like the water, into the caves and shit, and they
Yep.
go, right? Well, that could kind of explain UFOs, like the dark energy thing, because what if the dark energy is kind of like a force that's natural to them while they
Oh,
live
wait.
in you know what getting at?
Yeah, and if you think about it, if they know how to use dark energy or negative energy or whatever, then the reasons why their ships can just glide through the water so seamlessly is because they
100%.
have that field of dark energy around them.
And that's why they can move so quickly, is
Brother,
because, yeah.
yes. Fuck yeah.
So I just wanted to
Because they're
start
just
off
being
with
they're
that.
being pushed. They're not even using engines. They're being
They're
just
being
they
pushed
know how to
around.
use gravity to their advantage.
Yeah, they're like reversing the
Interesting.
gravity because anti-gravity is a naturally occurring thing to them in the hollow earth,
Right.
that they're more exposed to it and they've had time to study it more because it's right there.
And they don't
Where
even have
for
to fight
us,
against it. They can just seamlessly cut through it. because of what they know.
But I just thought that was kind of a cool little connection, and I wanted to bring that up before we get into everything
That's a
else.
great point. So yeah, keep that in mind, I guess.
So, starting with all of these 6 pages here, every major culture and religion, or religion, I should say, has a story of kind of, underworld or subterranean world, whether that being someplace for the afterlife or the origins of man
Or the mole people.
or the mole people or the reptilians. And like the Greeks have Hades.
Yep.
A lot of them have to do with hell.
Yeah, I feel like that's like the common like
Yeah.
even as a child, I'm like, dude, hell isn't earth. Like it's below us.
Well, some people really do believe that hell is on earth, it's just under us.
Bro, the earth is so overcrowded as it is. You think we can fit more people inside?
Yeah, what is the housing space for a soul? Like, is it the same as a person?
It's
Because those
got to
people
be
are
the same.
cramped down there.
Yeah, I bet it's fucking awful. Like that's probably like when the world quote unquote ends or just goes through the great filter and recycles itself. I feel like it's because in this theory, hell just
Mhm.
gets so full we explode. Think
The
about
earth just
think about it.
it just explodes from the inside out. Just
Give me your souls. That's what
uh,
happens, man. And then
we
you're
figure
just a
it out.
soul riding through space for eternity.
Sounds kind of nice. Okay, so the Greeks have Hades, and they believe that there were at least 5 caves to the underworld in Greece alone. And this kind of ties into
Hmm.
a lot of which we'll talk about, that a lot of cultures believe that there are gateways or portals to this subterranean realm or this hollow earth all throughout the planet. And
Interesting. So if so when it comes to you said five caves,
yeah.
is that like kind of like layers to hell? Is that
So
like their interpretation of it?
so from what I was reading, there's how do I put this? Within like mountains, there are caves in Greece that are deep enough that go through like the level in which we live on and
Oh,
lead to
okay.
Hades,
So
kind of a
like
thing.
there's like five entrances,
Yeah, but just in Greece,
cave entrances.
Greece
Okay.
alone. So that kind of makes me think of like, well, does that mean other places could have these?
Right. Okay, I get what you mean. Sweet.
And then we have the Christians with like hell, the everybody
Basic ass.
basic ass Satan.
There's worms crawling through you and
Yeah,
you're
like
getting
maggots eating your dick, you
getting
know.
fucked by like goat men. It's wild, man.
I know these things. In the Jewish culture, I think it's called Soul or Shol.
Shawl.
It's the underworld of darkness and stillness, which is actually what is referred to. Remember in the witch trial episode when you quoted the Bible about that guy asking to resurrect somebody, like that witch?
Yeah, the witch of oh fuck, what is it?
It sounded like pretty cool. I don't remember exactly what it was called
I keep thinking Mauder off from the last
from
episode.
the last episode.
Yeah,
But
I
do
can't.
you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yep.
That is referencing this. So that I thought that was kind of an interesting
That
tie-in.
is cool.
The Nordic people have this fucking abomination of a word.
Svartafamia.
That was actually probably spot on, but
Maybe. Probably not.
it is the the realm of the dark elves and is mostly
Dude,
underground home to the dark elves, or better known as dwarves.
shit.
And I kind of had this thought that like how would we, because if they're short, but then there's accounts of people being tall, like giants and shit from the inner earth. And I wonder how the gravity would affect people's height. Like, would the gravity be more intense or would they be pulled to be taller?
You'd be spaghettified. Kind of like
Yeah,
a black
because
hole.
so would they be short? Do you get what I'm
I know
saying?
what you mean.
I don't have like the capacity to understand
I
gravity.
I also feel like there's probably just like normal caves that have dwarves in them, and that's just where you wind up when you're dead.
So we become
It might not
dwarfs,
necessarily be. No, I think you're surrounded by dwarves and probably beaten and work
beaten to
for
death.
dwarves. Yeah.
So do you think Snow White's been dead this whole time?
Snow White is dead as fuck.
She's been dead. All right. She died, and that's where the dwarves come from.
Yeah, no, she's probably the ruler of them. They're probably
Mm.
all stuck on her toes and shit. But
She's probably got
yeah,
like
she's dead.
4,000 nips that just like breastfeeds everyone. I'm sorry for that visual. That's so gross.
Everyone's just attached to her tits. Oh
Um,
fuck.
we have Tibetan Buddhism that talk about Shambhala. It's like a spiritual place, like a ancient spiritual city that has guards
Hmm.
that you have to pass through the guards to get to Shambhala.
So like, do you have to like fight your way into Shambhala?
No, I think it's like when you die or something, or like if you find it, it's kind of based on like your spiritual like clarity, I guess. From my understanding,
Okay.
that could be totally botched, but I'm pretty sure that's how it's
So you have to be able to pass through them to get in.
in a way, yeah.
And if you get fought off or you can't pass through, then you're just a
You,
wandering
you're
soul.
just wandering. Well,
Okay.
let me Google this real quick. Well, there's multiple interpretations of Shambhala, which we'll get into. It's a spiritual kingdom or in an ancient city.
That sounds cool. It's almost like Atlantis, like
It's
our
funny you
episode
say
on
that
Atlantis. It kind of reminds me of
because
that because that's like the
they
utopia.
people believe that that's where Atlantis either is or when Atlantis fell, that's where they went.
I like how like all of our episodes, like they all just
They're
wind up
starting,
tying together.
yeah. Let me Google something real quick. They say that the entrance to Shambhala is hidden inside an abandoned monastery in Tibet.
So the portal to get to Shambhala is in Tibet.
Is in Tibet in somewhere. Yeah.
Mm. To Tibet.
Yeah. And I've heard rumors that the Dalai Lama is in direct contact at all times with hollow earth beings. I don't know how true that is. I didn't decide to look into it, but we have Mesopotamia. They have a lore or a legend of a subterranean garden through a tunnel in the mountains named
Nice.
Mashu, which ties into some other things later. And then the Celtic and the Irish, I kind of put them in the same general area because a lot of them bleed together. They believe that there are caves to purgatory, caves to hell, and a mystical place known as the other world or the land of the Tawatha de Dananna, I think, a place inhabited by supernatural beings responsible for introducing Druidism to the Irish before disappearing underground. And I thought, because
Hmm.
Druidism is kind of like magic, right? In a
Okay.
way. And I thought, what if this spiritual, you know, how in a lot of our episodes we end up talking about how like spirituality and technology and magic always kind of like blur into one thing.
Yeah.
I just
I
kind of
am
made that,
very familiar.
I've kind of felt like that was kind of hinting at that too, that these, you know, supernatural beings came up and exposed these people to new technologies or new powers.
New
And then they just,
teachings, new
yeah.
lessons, new ways to do stuff. Yeah, that's
Do you,
cool.
I love the connections of that kind of stuff to other theories like the Atlanteans or the Younger Dryas people or whatever.
Yeah, it does. It really does all kind of mix together. And it's kind of funny because if you go to different parts of the world and ask about the exact same story, like in every place,
Hmm.
you're going to get the same kind of story, but just different,
They just called it different
slight
things.
different things that just get lost in translation.
100%. And that's kind of a nice little segue here um, to this next thing. So in Hinduism, there are two legends. The Patala is a super beautiful place with gems that, and it's described to have fragrant smells, you know, hella vibes, music, tons of food. Just
Oh man, so they're all just smoking weed and
they're
getting
just
munchies and eating all
vibey.
the yummies.
Yeah, and there's no
Hell
old
yeah.
age, there's no sweat and no disease.
No sweat, that's nice.
And then they also have the legend of Shambhala, which we talked about. And this is a
Yep.
quote that I kind of wanted to read. The Puranas tell us, which the Puranas are like a Vedic text. The Puranas tell us that at the end of the Kali Yuga, which is the Yuga that we're in, and we can go into that later.
Okay.
At the end of the Kali Yuga, the Kalki avatar will be born in the best of Brahmin families of Shambhala, and that he will annihilate miscreants on the entire surface of the globe. Then men will come to the surface from below and restart Vedic culture. And I want to go on a little side tangent here, based and kind of tie it into what we were just talking about, how everything seems to have the same story, just a little bit different.
Just a little tweaked.
Yeah. It kind of sounds like so the everyone had like Christianity and Hinduism seem to have this story of like so Kalki is the next quote unquote like avatar of God to come back to Earth in Hinduism. And it kind of ties into how like Jesus or God is supposed to come back and destroy all the sinners and then take everyone to heaven with him.
Right.
Um, and if Shambhala is supposed to be this immaculate place, who's to say that it's not all talking about the same thing when, people are supposed to come back to almost revitalize the world?
Right. Because I feel like all the time there's some type of like great collecting of followers. Even in like all the
Hmm.
cults, you see that kind of shit. It's like,
Hmm.
you're gonna have to die to come with me. It's just always how it winds up for some reason.
And then people believe that the Garden of Eden is in the middle of the earth, and that's where the origin of man came from, which ties into so many other different theories. And that we come from these godlike beings or these, higher dimensional beings that are, could be from the hollow earth. And if all these stories talk about this godlike being coming back to destroy everything and then revitalize it, who's to say we're not all talking about someone coming back from the middle of the earth? Do you see the line
Yeah.
here?
Yeah. Yeah. I do.
It's starting to get into like weird conspiratorial shit, but I just thought it was
It's
funny.
like religious, but also conspiracy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just that's where
Even
like the
God is
lines get
not safe
crossed. Yeah. It's
from
like,
from the
fuck.
conspiracy.
What do we believe in?
Yeah.
I feel like
The
all these kind of topics get into just questioning literally everything.
everything. We have the Angami Naga tribes of India. They claim that their ancestors emerged in ancient times from a subterranean land inside the earth. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, the Tano people, they're indigenous people of the Caribbean, specifically Cuba, and they believe their ancestors emerged in ancient times from two caves in a mountain underground, which Mount Olympus, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, who
And
knows? I mean, and were they all in Olympus and then it sank and then they arose?
oh, see, it's all connecting. The
So
natives
crazy.
of the Torbrand Islands, it's islands by New Guinea. Ancestors came from Abukala, which is a subterranean land in relation to the Hollow Earth. Um, Ancient German mythology talks about a portal in Germany to the inner Earth.
Dude, what's we're so as humans, our monkey brains are so obsessed with what the hell's in the middle of our
Like
planet.
we want to crack this bitch open like an
Everybody
egg.
has thought of it.
The Russians have a legend, and it talks about an ancient Siberian tribe who traveled to a cavern city that and lived inside the earth. And then the Native Americans, like tons of tribes, and there are tons of stories ranging from uh worlds and like doorways to the underworld or tunnels to the spiritual world near the Mississippi or in the Grand Canyon or the Cave Creek in Arizona, and it just goes on and on and on. Like the West is like littered with these
I
stories,
love it.
and then they all kind of bleed into this idea that that's where the ancestors came from.
Wait, but also if you think about it, so all of that is out west, and where do you see a lot of the alien sightings?
That's
In
what I'm
the
saying.
deserts.
I was just about to bring that up.
In the deserts, bro.
That 100%, 100%. And I wanted to bring all this up because I operate in my brain under the assumption that I know these are all just legends and myths and stuff, but they're all so similar that there has to be some kind of truth line somewhere in all of these because these
Yeah,
are
I mean
all
they're all
seemingly,
related. They're all vaguely related, or
and
not
they're
even
all,
vaguely, like very
and
related.
a lot of them are totally separate, like the Nordic and the Buddhists. Well, these people who live on islands, dude.
Like they're so far, and back then they couldn't like read the internet. Like they
Yeah,
were
it's not
so
like
far from
it's
each other. They didn't even know they existed.
yeah, it's not like they had just like open communication. Like, oh, you did you know that we're all from the middle of the earth? Isn't that
Yeah,
crazy?
it's wild. So like
And
everybody has these exact roughly related opinions.
yes, and I'm not trying to say I 100% believe in the hollow earth. I mean, it's fucking sick, but
No, but
there,
you can see why.
yeah, I can see why people kind of are into this theory because I mean, these stories have been passed down for thousands of years.
Millions,
Yeah.
probably. Like so long.
And
Literally
I
forever. The time, like the amount of time, you know.
that has passed and these stories are all bleeding into like the same one thing, just slightly
Exactly.
different.
Insane.
Um, I think also when it comes to these myths and legends, I take them with like such a respect and like these people, sure, they made stuff up, but when you start to see the similarities, you have to take a minute and be like, okay, how in the fucking shit
Yeah, you have to at
is
least
this
like
even
entertain the
possible?
idea and just have a little fun with it, even if you don't even take it serious because you don't have to. But it's like
Yeah.
it's cool to see.
And it's like I feel like we don't give enough credit to like ancient people sometimes where we kind of see them as like, oh, they were just kind of like living in huts and like, you
So
know,
crazy and ripped each other apart.
yeah. But when I don't know if that's totally true,
Well, and
especially
there was philosophers and stuff too. Like not
yeah.
everybody was like that
Now everyone was like batshit crazy eating each other's faces and shit.
because people do that now. I mean, look at Florida.
I mean, look at me. I mean, I just ate some dude's face for dinner, you know?
Yeah, I mean, look at Eston. He is mouth broth.
I am foaming at the mouth right now. Um, okay, so then we talked about like the spiritual and all that, but for science, um, this isn't the first account of the hollow earth in science. The first one, I can't remember his name, but he suggested that the earth wasn't necessarily hollow, but that all the fire and all the water in the world had caves that were connected to giant water and lava reservoirs in the earth. That was kind of like the first scientific people quote like hollow earth, but it's not like the same. But then we kick it off with Edmund Halley, and it is the same dude that the Halley's Comet is named after.
Okay.
And he was born in the 1600s. So this is like
Jesus.
way back.
Way back.
And then he theorized that the Earth consisted of two outer crusts and one inner crust.
So there's like two layers inside,
There's, well, yeah. And then plus ours on the outside.
plus the outer layer. So yeah, I guess three.
And each crust had its own atmosphere and could be inhabited. And
Okay.
he also said that each crust could have its own poles, and that could explain anomalous compass readings, which that's so vague, but still. Um, and
Well, I mean,
then
also, I feel like it would have to have different poles because if you have one layer on one
mhm,
pole and then you put the other layer on the same one, they're just going to wind up pressing together.
what?
Does that make sense?
What did you say? Say it
So,
again.
okay. So there's the earth, right? And then
Got
if
it.
there was like a layer in between the top of the earth and I guess the quote bottom of the earth, so there's
Yeah.
two caverns, two giant caverns inside the planet that
Mm,
are both spheres. And if
mhm.
they were both on the exact same pole, I feel like the South Pole would push against the North Pole and then just condense them. Or I don't know, maybe that's what keeps them together.
I get what you're saying. I think. I also think they would that mean they would have different magnetic fields?
Yeah, and that's probably why the outer layer of the Earth gets the best of both of the magnetic fields,
Mm.
North Pole, South Pole. The inside, they probably get like biased poles, I guess.
Bias pulls.
Right? I don't know.
Well, yeah, no, because they're like I
I'm
feel
just trying to
like
make sense, Esden.
no, I get you. I get you. I feel like as you would go into the Earth in this theory, the poles would have to get weaker too, or more. I don't know, or more
Yeah, they probably would be
stronger the closer
weaker.
you.
They'd probably be half as strong as the outer because we get both and they get one of each. I don't know.
I don't know. And he also thought that this could explain the northern lights, like the aurora borealis, and he theorized that those were gases that were leaking from the other crusts onto the outer shell, which is where we live.
Okay. So
And
just like inside Earth dust, hollow Earth
pretty
dust.
much hollow earth dust. And this is when I came up with that thought process of like the dark energy thing, because I feel like you'd have to have some kind of repulsive force like dark energy in order for this to function with how many layers there are to this so-called hollow earth. And he really apparently he really believed in this because
Sounds like it.
he when some super famous painting of him was painted and he wanted it to represent his theory of the hollow earth. He's like holding paper in it. Next, about 38 years after that, John Cleves Simmons Jr. That's the longest
That's a hell of a
fucking.
name.
That's a big name, dude.
Jesus.
John Cleves Simmons Jr. What a guy. He suggested that the Earth consisted of a hollow shell
So hollow
with
Earth.
hollow Earth, yeah, and with openings about 1,400 miles across at both the poles, with four inner shells, each open at the poles.
Bro, okay. Side note on that.
Mhm,
So there's like a theory. It's a weird one, but there's like a theory that they always say you can't fly directly
mhm.
over the North Pole.
I believe it.
You just can't.
I
Like
believe
it's
it.
just like you just can't. And that would make sense where the
The
giant gaping
poles.
holes into the center of the earth would be, which is why people are like, yeah, you just literally cannot fly
Cannot
over
fly
it.
over it.
That's crazy.
And that actually ties into some of the stuff we start talking about with like um Admiral Byrd and stuff, like flying over the poles. That I think keep that in mind from when we talk about that because Admiral Byrd was is claimed to be the first person to reach the North and South Poles by flying, and then after that, a bunch of weird shit started happening around him in the Arctic and the poles and stuff.
That's so fascinating. And it's also funny and kind of, it's just comical that his last name is Bird and he's
He's
flying.
flying. It's
What a
fitting.
fucking
He leaned into that. He
he
did that
leaned into
on
that. That's where
purpose.
he got his last name. He's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm blah blah
I'm
blah
Bird.
Bird because back then you could do that,
Back then, you could be like, yeah, just call me Bird. Why? I fly and shit.
but that's my
Also,
last name. So
but just only refer to me as Bird though. This John Jr. also proposed that the curvature of the rim of these pole openings were so gradual that it would be possible to enter the inner Earth without even noticing that you were in the inner Earth.
would it not be dark as fuck?
Well,
Where the light at though?
there are theories that the inner Earth would have a sun in it.
Okay. Hmm.
Um,
Wait. Oh shit. Wait. Side thought.
mm,
You know how like the core of the earth, like you think of it as like fire and
yeah.
brimstone. What if the core of the earth is the inner earth's sun
Mm, I see you.
and you kind of walk upside down
Well, that's kind of what I was gonna
because
about
of the
to.
opposite poles?
Oh shit.
It's
So
like
you're
completely reverse. Like
it's kind of like you're walking on like the inside of the outside layer. If
we
that makes
share the same ground.
yes.
And what if earthquakes come from something crazy going on the inner earth?
Yo,
Think about it.
think about
They
it.
have nuclear war too, man. What if Hiroshima just happened and California snapped off the earth?
It's like dude.
Think about it.
It's like,
It
oh,
makes sense.
there was a massive earthquake. It looks like, the fucking giants are
Looks like the
sending nukes at each
reptilians
other.
killed us again.
Damn it. This John guy, he argued that due to the centrifugal force of the Earth's rotation, that the Earth would be flattened at the poles, leaving a vast passage into the inner
Whoa.
Earth. Kind of like if you took like a snowball, stuck it between your two fingers and spun it, your fingers would carve holes into it.
Yeah,
And he
kind of
believes
like
that
kind of
the
like a
poles
toilet
would do
paper
that.
roll.
Exactly. The world is just a giant toilet paper roll,
But like a little smashed
a
and,
little
and
squished.
a little squashed.
So this next account of the inner Earth, I think is one of my favorites because I love shit like this. It's a book called The Smoky God by William Emerson in 1908.
Dude, they call me the Smoky God.
They call me the Smoker God, dude. Fucking chief and all. Dude, what if
You
we
got
just get
joints behind both ears and one in your mouth.
you got both nostrils in
Why?
your ear? Dude, I'm fucking what if that's what the inner earth is? It's just a bunch of people just being stoned just in the middle of the earth just hanging out.
Just chooching all day.
Just that then that's what the northern lights are. It's just their afterburn.
Dude, yeah, it's just their fucking clouds, bro.
They're just chiefing it down there with all like
It's
the
just a
good
bunch of
smells
high
and
fucking
super
dwarves.
beautiful like dwarves that are just immortal beings that are just chilling. Sounds like a really good
Damn.
time.
That sounds like I want to go.
I know.
Let's
Like
go.
we should take a trip to the Antarctic and just get
Just
in there.
jump into that hole, man. We,
There's
we just
like
jump into a fucking cavern and hit the
just
ground and die.
like, I
Dude, this
think
is
I
totally
found
the
it. Dude,
entrance.
it's fucking huge. It's right here. But like, I don't know, man. We're not at the pole yet. I don't know. I promise. It's probably just an offshoot.
Uh,
See,
well, Eston's dead.
it's like, fuck. Um, okay. So the Smoky God describes the accounts of Olaf Jansen, who sailed into the center of the earth with his dad and spent 2 years living amongst these dwarves that are stoners that we have created. And apparently, this is a real life event that happened, and that this is just a retelling of Olaf's story.
Olaf from Frozen fame.
See, Disney is leaking clues, right? Olaf
Olaf is an industry plant.
is an industry plant in the Frozen movies.
He's a psyop, dude. He's a government psyop. Olaf is after our youth.
Ours after our youth, and they're trying to expose the hollow earth through Disney movies.
The ice skating fucking snowman.
The musical about ice powers is about the Arctic.
Olaf said, "Let it snow, bitch," when you get there.
That and Olaf is the Shambhala guards. He is guarding
he's, he's
Shambhala.
he's wearing like some fucking Grecian like garb, like across his chest, holding a spear.
I need a Photoshop edit of that.
It's incredible.
And then how it is described, the center of the earth is in this book is described that it was lit by a dimmer sun that was much smaller, that's inside the earth, and the inhabitants are advanced races of giants who have electricity and extremely long lifespans. And he compares it to the Garden of Eden. I'm just do you the connections, bro?
And yeah, I mean, look at us.
Like
I'm fucking
like
half stoned to the bone, drinking IPAs, and I'm
are you
mathing.
in?
I'm so in.
Well, it's gonna get even crazier
I'm
because we're
like I'm elbow deep in Hollow
I
Earth.
I am up to my neck in shit of the hollow earth right now. So basically, long story short, there are tons of theories that it could be giants, more humans, gods, aliens, Atlanteans, and even dinosaurs. There's people who say there's, you know, soup. Everyone
Soup.
ever there's soup.
There's
They
soup.
probably there's a lot of soup in there.
Shit, dog. Hollow Earth is just a big old
Big
chicken noodle.
dude, it's some fucking cheddar broccoli soup from Panera, just vibing down there.
Fire,
I
dude.
need I need the cheddar broccoli soup from the Hollow Earth.
Oh, bro. Also, speaking of Panera, the charged lemonade is gone. It's officially gone.
What?
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna need a boycott.
We'll talk about this on a different episode.
We are calling to action. No. But now we get to talk about the Nazis. So
Let's go.
so if you couldn't
Jesus.
if we couldn't get any crazier,
This is where they come from, though. That is a theory.
we are going to talk about the Nazis in Agartha. So first, little side story that there was a theory proposed that we are in the inside of the hollow earth and that the hollow earth is convex instead of concave.
Fuck, don't do that to me.
I know. And that Hitler became really interested in this idea. And then he tried to spy on the British by pointing infrared cameras at the sky and thought it would bounce off the rim of the earth, the hollow earth at the British soldiers.
We will point cameras at the sky and see the British.
Yeah. Obviously that didn't work because
As
that's
he's
not
like
true.
eating chocolate cake by the fistfuls.
It's just like he's like, sir, we can't do this. Make
Keep
more.
it there.
So Hitler was really on this shit, which explains
Hitler was
why
on one.
he was really into this whole hollow earth thing, which explains a lot. So basically, the theory is that the Nazis had found an alien or some kind of occult spiritual knowledge or technology that originated from Agartha, which is said to be a paradise kingdom of godlike elite beings.
Agartha sounds like just a fucking linebacker of a woman.
Honestly, dude, she'd be like 7'2". She'd
Yeah.
have the deepest voice, and her biceps would be like the size of my thighs.
And she'd have one eye and two rows of teeth.
She'd
Literally, dude.
she'd play football but with no pads because her bone structure is so
She's got a
dense.
3-inch thick skull.
If she got hit by a sedan, the sedan would be destroyed and she'd be fine.
She's the Volvo of humans.
Um, so we're all like familiar with every theory that has to do with the Nazis having some kind of wonder waffle or some crazy technology from the aliens or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So that theory is where the Agartha theory stems off of
Okay.
because
Part of the roots.
yeah. So German occultist groups such as the Thule Society were very interested in this idea of the hollow earth and specifically Agartha, the paradise of godlike beings. And Hitler loved the occult. Like there are so many accounts of the Nazi party being involved with occult practices and have ties to occult groups. And Hitler loved this society, this Thule Society group, so much that he actually invited them to become part of the Nazi party because he wanted to incorporate their practices and their ideas
And it's
into the philosophy.
and it's funny that Hitler would think he was so great that
Yeah.
he would be invited to hang out with the reptilians.
Well, there's a theory that after everything, that's what happens.
I know, but it's funny that he's
It's like,
like,
yeah,
I've got invited to the center of the earth from a reptilian.
mm.
I bet you will never.
And well, that's actually kind of a perfect segue into what this is going to get kind of teetering on the edge of what maybe we shouldn't talk about.
Oh no.
So, and there are theories to suggest that Hitler got this idea of the Aryan race or this perfect race, or the quote unquote mystical race above all beings from the hollow earth theory because of these aliens known as the Nordic alien.
And the Nordics are, beautiful, blonde.
Well, do you know about the Nordic aliens?
Of course I know about the Nordic
I,
aliens.
I didn't know about this until I started researching it.
Come on.
Come on.
Who are you
Uh,
talking to here?
so I'm gonna read the description for those who are like me and didn't know. So the Nordic alien is the name given to an alleged humanoid extraterrestrial who resemble Nordic Scandinavians. They are said to be very tall, blonde hair, blue eyes, fair skin. Um, and George Adamaski is credited with being the first to claim contact with the Nordic aliens in the mid 1950s. And the mythology is a little all over the place, but they are described to have powers of like telepathy, and they're supposed to be super benevolent and super beautiful,
And
right?
they're very, very seducting.
Yes, they're like, give me that, give me
They will
all of that.
make you
You'll suck
they
on
will
some
they will
alien
take your
dick.
seed no matter what. And
They'll
it will
probe
be
your ass,
amazing for you
and you will love
because
every
that's who
moment
they
of it
are.
because they're just so great.
It's funny
at
because
what they
then all of
do.
a sudden Hitler comes along and he's like, "We need blonde hair, blue eyes."
He's like, hey guys, I just got railed by this giant alien bitch named Agartha.
Like, where did he?
And now we need that
He
on
had to
Earth.
have done drugs, bro.
Well, he was on meth and like crack
Yeah, he
throughout of
he
all.
was
Yeah.
he was in the gutter for a minute, and that's where he met these aliens.
But I feel like this all kind of ties back into like all of the ancient stories of these godlike beings from the middle of the earth that were like, so much more advanced and spiritual and just fucking awesome. And maybe Hitler got a little too aggressive with his beliefs, but you
Perhaps
could see where he got it from. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, he was on a
And
bender.
he was on like a 5 to 10 year bender at this point. So then everyone knows that Germany was extremely interested in Antarctica, and they actually sent out a expedition for between 1938 and 1939. Now, it's documented that it is said that they were there for to get blubber
They were
because
whaling.
they were whaling because because Hitler
What?
wanted Germany to be self-sufficient.
He's like, we need more candles.
We need more blubber, boys.
What the fuck?
And then the theory goes that they had a base in Antarctica, and that after the war ended, a lot of Nazis, including Hitler, was they traveled to Antarctica and are still there, living in this bunker in Antarctica, or they were let into the Hollow Earth,
I was gonna say, or AKA the
the
Hollow
Hollow Earth. Um, Now you can run with that theory in so many different ways that I feel like if we were to go into it, it'd probably get us canceled. So we're just gonna skip on over to the next thing.
Yeah, this can get real dicey with you guys.
So, next topic, as I mentioned earlier, and you had mentioned Byrd. Remember Admiral Byrd?
Yep.
He, like I said, he is claimed to be the first to reach the North and South Pole by air.
Turns out he was a Canadian goose.
It turns out he was actually a bird the whole
He
time
was just migrating.
and got lost and did a few laps around the planet. And now he's a general in the army.
Yeah. Oh, he's like a pigeon in a fucking fighter jet.
There is some controversy that whether or not he was actually the first person to reach this North Pole by air, but like for the theory, we're just going to ignore that.
We're
And
just
there
gonna
are,
go with Admiral Byrd's our boy.
he is the man.
Went north to south.
And there are rumors that he saw evidence of this quote unquote Nordic alien magical Aryan race. Other people who say that he saw the entities themselves. He said that he saw structures or some kind of alien, UFO or entrances to the Hollow Earth. And like, have you heard
So
the
at the North Pole, he saw a giant hole.
massive hole? And have you heard about the theories or the people claiming that they found pyramids and structures in Antarctica under the ice?
No,
Really?
I haven't heard that one.
So apparently there are, I don't know how legit this is, accounts of pyramids being found in Antarctica and like hexagonal shaped things under the ice. I don't know how
Interesting.
true this is, but I feel like that'd be kind of an interesting episode.
Yeah, I would love to adventure into. I could even do that for one of my episodes coming up.
That'd be tight. That'd be kind of sick. So this guy, big flyer, hit both poles, called it a day.
He's a big old pilot.
And he organized and led Operation High Jump. Have you heard of this?
Yes.
So I have never heard of this until I researched it. It was officially titled the United States Navy Antarctic Development Program, which, tone it down, first of all.
Chill out, guys.
Horrible.
Come on.
Like, come
It's
on.
not that cool.
It's not that deep. It was also named Task Force 68, which I thought was stupid because make it 69.
I was gonna say it's one away. Come
Like,
on.
come on.
Grow up,
So,
boys.
you're telling me that nobody in the entire Navy Army force was like, yo, come on, one more. But Task Force 68 included 4,700 men, 70 ships, and 33 aircraft, which I feel like is a
Damn.
absolute fucking metric ass
70
fuck
ships.
just to go to like quote unquote to test basic training and equipment, study the environment, and establish a base. I feel like
That's a
it's a lot
lot.
of fucking people.
I don't even know if we have 70 ships in this ocean right now. I'm gonna look
Like
that up real quick.
I, I'm assuming there are more than 70 ships in the world, Vance.
Fuck.
Hmm.
299.
Yeah.
A lot.
This seems like a lot and a little unnecessary for the things that they were doing at the time, in my opinion. Just like testing and studying and all that. And
We're gonna have like a mini scale war training.
so this is from Wikipedia, who quotes this interview. So Bird discussed the lessons learned from the operation in an interview with International News Service on March 5th, 1947. And then this is the quote from that interview. It says, Admiral Richard E. Byrd warned today that the United States should adopt measures of protection against the possibility of an invasion of the country by hostile planes coming from the polar regions. The admiral explained that he was not trying to scare anyone, but the cruel reality is that in case of a new war, the United States could be attacked by planes flying over one or both poles. This statement was made as part of a recapitulation of his own polar experience in an exclusive interview with International News Service. Talking about his recent completed expedition, Byrd said that the most important result of his observations and discovery is the potential effect that they would have in relation to the security of the United States. The fantastic speed with which the world is shrinking, recalled the admiral, is one of the most important lessons learned during his recent Antarctic explorations. I have to warn my comrades that the time has come when we are able to take refuge in our isolation and rely on certainty that the distances, the ocean, and the poles were a guarantee of safety. I know that was a lot, but do you see how crazy that is?
That is crazy. It just seems so on the nose for it to be not a thing.
Yeah.
Like it's just so why would he make it up? How do you
Yeah,
make that up?
and it's like, yeah, sure, like people could attack you, but like how many fucking governments are gonna spend all the time and money to train people to fly over the poles to attack somebody?
Exactly.
And it's
Like,
like I thought the point of saying that certain distances like the ocean and the poles were a guarantee safety, and then how that time is ending could allude to like a potential like, yeah, we need to like up our shit because there are these massive holes with these super intense beings
yeah, and we do
at the
it's like
poles, and we're fucked if they try to attack us.
they're like, yeah, so we were up in like the Atlantic and we saw we peeked in a hole and there was just technology for miles.
It was the craziest shit. Like
Like
there are these
reptilian
giant,
races, Aryan aliens,
there's
like
some giants.
utopias.
The Olympians are there, I guess.
Literally, like,
Like we're gonna
what
have
the
to
fuck?
fight gods, so we might want to like pick up the fucking pace here. I just like this is so eerie to me when you put it together with everything else going on. And then along with that, with Operation High Jump on December 30th, 1946, there were three deaths. Wendell Henderson, Frederick Williams, and Ensign Maxwell Lopez were killed when their plane crashed due to a blizzard, and their bodies and airplane were never recovered. And some people believe that when we went here with all these people and all these ships to establish a base, that these planes were getting a little too close and then they were shot down by the UFOs or the people that live in the earth.
That's interesting, yeah. But also it's like
It's Antarctica.
they were in a dangerous ass area and probably just got buried in snow and ice.
That's kind of I wanted to throw this in here just because it's part of it, but that's also my thought process too. It's like, how the
It's
fuck are you
yeah.
supposed to find these people's bodies when they were shot out of the sky into Antarctica?
Yeah, it's a reach, but it adds to the theory,
Yeah.
they can make it make sense in their own way.
So then that also bleeds into the final 2 points here of Operation Deep Freeze 1. There are three of these, but they all kind of end up being similar things.
Right, like
Um,
it's all just based on the first deep freeze
yeah.
operation.
Basically, the government sent more people there and wanted to study more shit about the continent of Antarctica. And this was Byrd's last trip to Antarctica, and it marked the beginning of a permanent U.S. military presence in Antarctica.
Hmm.
And the
So
col-
it must have meant something.
it took the collaborative effort of 40 nations
Jesus.
to do this, which I thought was kind of crazy because it's not like we had any trouble going there the first time with all the military shit. Why do we need 40 other nations to help us out on this one?
Because they found out something that's bigger than us.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And then that kind of bleeds into this last point of the Antarctic Treaty, which has been signed now by 54 countries, including the United Kingdom, the United States, and the Soviet Union. I mean, Russia. Um, and it basically states that you can't go there, nobody can own it, and that anything that is there that if you want to like put like a base or research station there has to be approved by the people who signed the treaty. So you have to get approved by the 54 countries that have signed this in order to do anything there. I feel like that's kind of, I mean, like, yes, duh. Like, you don't want just anyone pulling up to this absolute death trap of a continent
Where it's
without
very
prop.
uncharted.
Yeah. But it adds to the theory.
Yeah, it's cool. Like they could, if they were hiding something, they could totally like do it there.
Oh yeah, it's super easy. And if you want to take a second and Google Antarctica pyramid, you can kind of see how like people I mean come on.
Whoa,
Weird,
those are
right?
straight like sticking out of the snow and shit. Those are straight up pyramids.
Is that not weird as fuck?
That is weird as fuck. Those are like
So
100% pyramids.
I'm just saying,
Are we losing it, Esden?
yeah, I
are,
definitely,
are
we
are we going
definitely are.
crazy right
We
now?
definitely are, dude, because
Oh
I'm starting to think about
no.
like the Egyptians and like how they're all connected to the
It's
fucking
like
ant.
why?
Like why?
And the Mayans with the temples and
Oh my
shit.
God, dude. It's just the rabbit hole. It's just weird. It's
This
weird.
podcast is bad for us.
It actually sometimes I feel like I'm losing my fucking mind. I'm not gonna lie. And I love it, but also I feel like I'm giving myself a mental illness.
Yeah, I think we should wrap up the episode if that's
Oh,
all
I
you
also think
have.
Bob Aldrin or Buzz Aldrin said something about the aliens in the Arctic. I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I don't know, dude. I think this is a good spot to. Well, what are your thoughts? Like, what do you think?
I
Like,
don't even want to express my feelings.
like I feel like if I
This
were to
was a
get
hell of a ride, and a lot of it makes it just links
way
together
too much
so
sense, right?
nicely. Like we were really tossing this shit together, and it just fit together very like a nice little puzzle, and
The
it's kind of
the
unsettling.
it's kind of upsetting that it
And I don't
works
know how
out
I
so
feel about
well.
myself.
Like I feel like if I were to really dive into what I think about all this, I'd probably lose my fucking mind.
We're gonna wind up on the streets wearing
No, we
tinfoil
can't.
hats.
You can't wear tinfoil hats.
Wait, because that makes us antennas.
Yeah,
Fuck.
it's like the dumbest thing.
You're so right.
What if it's a
See,
government psyop?
Jesus. All right. Well, it's getting late.
Yeah, dude, that was
We
a
gotta stop.
fucking moment. That was crazy. I typed this all out and then I didn't read it to myself until now. And now that I've read it out loud, it sounds fucking insane.
We are crazy. We are losing our minds.
Yeah,
Over here at the Thought Void podcast, we are slowly descending
into
into
madness.
our personal hell, the Hollow Earth.
Nice.
And whether you'll come with us or not, that's up to the
Literally,
God Force.
that's up to the God Force. But here I can let me shout out the person who suggested Agartha real
Yeah.
quick. Shout out to Additive Alex on YouTube. They were the one to uh suggest Agartha or kind of the comment that they put sparked that idea.
Yeah. So thank you for that. If anybody wants to say anything, get a
Hit
little
us
shout
up.
out at the end. We'll talk about your topic if it's cool. Thank you, Additive. We appreciate it. And it led to a really nice little episode.
Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on pretty much anywhere you find podcasts. So like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any third party we're pretty much on. And give us a rating. share this with your friends. And we just want to say thank you for listening. We
Yeah,
hope you
thank you
enjoyed the
guys so
episode.
much.